hope you're all doing fine and welcome to Glecta. This is your biology session where we're starting with a new topic and a new chapter in which we're going to learn about cell and how does it grow and repair itself. So let's move on and try and understand what are the learning outcomes from the topic. So the first learning outcome would be that you would learn the role of chromosomes in the cell. The second would be the importance of the cell cycle. Then next we would know how the cells divide by a process known as mitosis. Now coming to the basics. Okay, so we have different stages of life for our own self as well. If you think about it, we have an entire stages of life where we have like baby, infant stage, where we're not able to talk, we're not able to walk properly, so we need somebody's help. Then there's childhood. After that we have teenage, then adulthood, then at last we have old age. So we ourselves as humans have a stage of life. For example, mine might be adulthood, but yours is going to be teenage. So we are going to have different stages of life. According to those stages, things are going to differ. For example, you are a teenager. You have hormones working faster than an adult, which is me, is having. Although I would not say that the hormones do not change in the adult's body, but the changes are very subtle. So the emotions actually calm down by the time that you reach adulthood. Which is why it is important to, I would say, differentiate adulthood, teenage, and the childhood. We don't say childhood and the adult age. In the middle we have teenage, which is like a transition phase from the childhood to be an adult. So it is really important to understand each stage of life to make, I would say, a better understanding of what life consists of. For example, if somebody tells me that they're a teenager, the first thing that might come to my head maybe would that be the person's emotions. For example, in teenage, because that's the starting of puberty, your hormones would start changing. Teenagers have high energy. Adulthood has a subtle energy. So like that, because I know the stages of life, I would be able to understand the person better who's going through those stages. Now coming to what humans are made up of. Humans are made up of cells, which means if a human has a cycle, it is obvious that the cell would have the same, because we are made up of cells indeed. Which means if we need to understand how cells work and what kind of changes takes place in the cell, we would have to have an understanding about the cell and the stages of cell. That's exactly what the chapter is about. The chapter is talking about cell cycle, and specifically a part of cell cycle known as the cell division. For this chapter, you need to have an understanding about what all does a cell have. So let's come with me. What all does the cell have? So cell have a cell membrane. Cell have a cytoplasm. Cell has ribosomes. Cell has mitochondria. At last, the cell has nucleus. And what does the nucleus have? The nucleus has the DNA. Do you guys think that if the cell divides, it would become important for the cell to have the same kind of DNA? If so, why do you think so? Comment below your answers and let's see who thinks what about the topic. Okay, now that you guys are done, we can talk about that answer later. But I might just give you an answer where it says that, for example, if you are the monitor of your class, you might be like the president, or maybe, just the head of the class. You might have certain qualities that you have, and because of that, you've been elected as the head of the class or as the representative of the class. If that happens and somebody needs to replace you for like 10 days for something, do you think the teacher would think about, or I would say prefer, the same kind of abilities and the same kind of characteristics as yours? Or would they just choose a random person to come up and do the job? My experience says that the teacher would actually look for somebody who's very, very similar with you. So, which is the last representative. It is because if the person is like the last representative, it would not take as much time to get accommodated with the stage or the status. And or at the same time, if you think about it, you would not have to invest a lot of money in the person or time in the person to make them learn things. Similarly, if I take the exact same thing now in the examples of plants, you would understand that if I have a cell and this got damaged for XYZ reasons and I need to replace this cell with the new one, I would rather that this new cell, which is replacing the old one, has all the same kind of characteristics that the previous one had. And to do that, we need to make sure that the previous cells had this kind of, genetic material, and according to that, the genetic material has to stay the same for the next cell as well. Now, if you look at this here, new cells are needed for an organism or as a part of an organism to grow. Why would you need new cells? Let's say there's an infant. The person would grow. The infant would have new cells, new skin making. For example, if this is the finger and it grows this long, the new skin has to be formed. New bone has to be formed. So like that, we always need new cells so that we can have more and more, I would say, qualities like the previous one. They also are needed to replace the cells that have become worn out and to replace the damaged tissues. For example, you might have had a cut in the kitchen. You damaged the cell. You killed the cells technically. So you would have to have new cells that can replace the new cells. New cells that can replace the old one. Now, if you cut the skin, would you want the liver cells to grow here? Because I need the new cell, the cell must have the same genetic information as the original one so that they can do the same job. If it's a skin cell, I would rather that it's still a skin cell when it's replaced. I am doing this so that I would not have to teach the cell how to sweat or how to have hair. So things like that are going to matter because, okay, a classic example. If you cut the finger or the tip, you have fingerprints there. If you cut it here, do you think the new skin that would come would still have the fingerprint? Yes, it would. So the new skin would still have the fingerprints because the cell that are replacing the old ones would have the same genetic material as the original one. So they would have skin cells. And that is why, irrespective of how deep the cut is on the fingers, your fingerprints stay. That's the exact reason why we can have tattoos. Because tattoos penetrate deep inside the cells, but at the same time the cells that come new are like the old ones. So something like, you would understand that the basic concept of the cell has to stay the same along with the genetic material of the cell. Now coming to chromosomes carry the genes that contain the instructions for making both new cells and all the tissues and organs needed to make an entire you. Which means that if we give our body enough time, it would be able to replace each and every cell. And that's true. Within 7 to 8 years, our body is renewed. every single cell in the body, by the time that it's, past 7-8 years, every single cell in the body would be new. Your nails would be growing by the 7-8 years. The one that you have today would be cut because it's grown taller, so you would cut it. Similarly, your skin would shed off because it's dry skin, the dead cells, and a new one would come up. Your hair, it would grow out, and you would cut them. So the old ones are gone, the new ones have replaced those. Your eye cells, your brain cells, not exactly your brain cells, but the skin of the brain, like that. So all the cells in the body have to be replaced because we need the new cells. So you can make an entire you, but no, you can now have two different people. It would change in the same person. Like my skin is not like what I used to have 7-8 years before now. Or, it would not be the same in the next 7-8 years because I'm going to change my skin. Everything in my body would change, it would get renewed, new cells would be forming, the older ones would be dying, and I would shut them off. Or I would just, clean them out, they would get out of my body in different ways. Talking about the kind of information that a cell has, the cells have the nucleus. The nucleus has the DNA. DNA is wrapped itself up in a form of chromosome. And a chromosome has a gene. In some diagrams, you would see these are replaced, but it's something that you play with words as. I said the DNA is wrapped up in a situation, or I would say in a structure that is a chromosome. So technically, in a cell, you would see a chromosome first, and if you try and open this one, you would have DNA wrapped up like this. So they might be interchangeable, but when we're talking about genes, it's not present on the DNA. It's a section of chromosome because the genes are taller. Talking about what are genes, they're a small packet of information that controls characteristics or a part of a characteristic of your body. For example, this one. This gene is present on chromosome number 17. But that brings me to a question. How many chromosomes do a cell have for this cell to be 17? A single cell has 23 pair of chromosomes. Sometimes we also use the word 46, but we use that for chromosomes individually. So it's the section of the chromosome, and this one, for example, has serotonin transcript gene. Serotonin is a protein that makes you happy. But there's a different type of happy. There's giggly happy. There's I'm perfect happy. There's everything's going to be fine happy. There's content happy. There's laughter happy. So there's different shades of happy. Each of those shades are differed according to what kind of, I would say, what set of proteins are expressed in the body. It is a section of DNA, the unique molecule that makes up your chromosome. So the exact same thing. Now talking about that you have 46 chromosomes in the nucleus of your body cells. The only cells who do not have 46 chromosomes are known as the sex cells. They are an exception for having 46 chromosomes. These instead just have 23 chromosomes. Okay, so they have 23. Now coming to how would they have 23. Can you guys look at this diagram here? This is known as a karyotype. A karyotype is a way of representing the DNA. So whoever this person is, the ones whose karyotype this is, these are all the chromosomes present in the person, and you can also see colorful genes in the person's DNA. So this is how you get, I would say, a blueprint of the chromosomes that are present in the person's body. Pair number 1 has 1, 2 chromosome, same with the second one, third, then fourth. You would see that there's a gap. It's a way of representation. It has nothing to do with the chromosome. It's just human way of representing the chromosomes in sets. It might be because of the kind of genes that they express. These three might be expressing the same kind of gene in a category. These two would be doing the same. So like that, it's dependent on humans, how they want to differentiate, but it has nothing to do with the chromosome itself. Fifth has 2 chromosomes, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd. Coming to 23rd. It's not written 23rd like it's written 22 here. Instead it says X and Y. That's a way of representing a male. If I had to represent a female in the same karyotype, the chromosomes would be looking like both of them are going to be tall. This means that it's an XX. XX is a female, while XY is a male. So just by looking at the karyotype of the person, the least that you can confirm is the sex of the person. It is if the person is a male or the female. These are 46 chromosomes in the pair of 23. So 23 chromosomes. If I say the person has 23 chromosomes and not 23 pair, it means the first one would only have 1 chromosome in it. The second would do the same. So it would look like chromosome number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe like this. So you would have a representation like this instead of having pairs. And this is what is present in sex cells. Now coming to what are sex cells. Sperm and ovum are sex cells. They are arranged in 23 pairs, like we saw in the karyotype. Each pair of chromosomes, 1 chromosome is inherited from the father, the other one is inherited from the mother. Why is it like that? Because sex, sperm and ovum come together to form a baby. Which means whoever this person is, when this person was made, 1 out of the 2 came from the mother and the other one came from the father, and that's how this person was made. The exact reason why we say that they were a mixture of our parents. Your eyes might be like your mother, but your, I would say, behavior might like be your father. So like that. As such, the sex cells, also known as gametes, only have 1 chromosome from each pair, so they have 23 chromosomes in total. Now coming to the cell cycle in real life. Can you guys look at the GIF? You just have to focus on the middle cell. This one. Now it's going to divide. Once this cell goes lighter, you know, when I would say it stops shining, that's when it's dividing. Body cells divide in a series of stages known as cell cycle. So it has different stages. Cell division in the cell cycle involves the process of mitosis. It produces 2 identical cells, like this GIF is doing. As a result, all your normal body cells have the same chromosomes and so the same genetic information. Which means if skin cells mitose to form new cells, new skin cells, the new skin cells would have the same kind of DNA as the previous one. So that's how your cells have been made. Now if you look at this here, the cycle has been divided into 2 colors, one violet and the other one is magenta. Violet one is the one that looks like interphase here. The pink one or the magenta one looks like the mitosis. Now talking about in asexual reproduction. Okay, carefully listen to this, that mitosis is nothing but one cell dividing itself into two cells, technically of the same size. But what you look here in the GIF is a way for bacteria to divide, which means mitosis is actually a way of reproduction in some organisms. Those organisms are usually single cell. When I say single cell, I mean they only have one cell in the name of the body, like this bacteria has. The cells of the offspring are produced by mitosis from the cell of their parent. So they just divide, so it becomes two bacteria for one. This is what is known as binary fission. This way, they contain the exact same genes as their parents with no or a little genetic variation. Genetic variation means any kind of change in the DNA of the person. So because bacteria are technically just dividing by mitosis, either there's just a little genetic variation or there's no genetic variation at all, which means the DNA stays the exact same. I mean like clone. Clone is a word used for physically and genetically, which is your DNA, identical cells. So physically, the appearance, genetically, the DNA. So with the line goes like clones are physically and genetically identical organisms. There are a lot of movies where there's so many clones made. One person into two, two into three, three into four, so like that it goes on and on. Cell cycle is short as a baby develops before it is born. One single cell makes up a baby within 9 months. Can you guys imagine how fast that making is? I would stay the same after 9 months, like physically at least. It's not like I'm going to grow an extra hand, and it's not like I'm going to grow an extra head. Even my hair would not grow that much if you think about it. How much would they grow? Like 3 inches, 4 maybe, if I'm really good at my, like skincare routine and my hair spa and stuff. So maybe 4 inches, but not more than that. But within those 9 months, the person, that's just a cell, and that cell develops itself into a baby this big. Imagine the amount of mitosis taking place in the baby's body to make all those organs within 9 months. When new cells are being made all the time, which means the baby has to be formed by repetitive mitosis, it remains fairly rapid during the childhood because obviously the kid is developing in height, but the cell cycle slows down once the puberty is over, which is exactly why we say that your height would only grow till the age of 19, maybe 20, but by that time you would just stop having height. I have had the same height since I was in high school, and the body would become an adult, stopping with height growth, excess hormones, all things. However, even in adults, there are regions in the body that are under a continuous growth because there are regular replacements of the other cells. For example, hair follicle. Your hair falls all the time. Now coming to what kids say is known as, I would say, like hair fall, like a problem of hair fall. Hair fall is only when the new cells or the new hair is not replacing the one that has been removed. If you move your hand like this and you get hair, but after a few days that empty place that the left, hair left behind is filled, it's not a hair fall problem. It is only a hair fall problem if the new hair is not replacing the old one. So we have replacements there. Skin, nails, blood, and the lining of the digestive system where you eat food. So all those are repetitively replaced. Every time that you cut your skin because of a knife, maybe a paper cut. I hate those, but okay. But anyways, whenever you have like a skin wound, it heals itself, right? That's new cell formation. Okay. Cell cycle in normal and healthy cells is having a regular pattern. So it has stages. There's no human on the planet that was born a teenager. Or there's no human on the planet that was born an adult. Which means a cell has to follow the following steps. The steps are that there's going to be growth, the DNA would synthesize itself, then there would be more growth, and then the cell would undergo division, which is mitosis. This is how it's supposed to happen, never changing itself. So you need to remember that the cell cycle have two growth phase, one DNA synthesis and one mitosis. Growth, synthesis, growth, mitosis. You can remember it like that. But before starting with what a cell cycle is and how that is a cell cycle, let's talk about, do you think all the cells in the body would have to undergo mitosis to live? Do you guys can you guys think of any cell in the body that cannot divide itself, that doesn't need to divide itself? Okay. One example, which is my favorite, is heart. Heart cells can't divide. This is how heart is. There's right part of the heart, left part of the heart. So right, left. So this is how the cell is going to, the heart is going to pump itself. It has upper chambers, it has lower chambers. Right? Now, if you think the cells of the heart is dividing, where do you think the new cells would gonna go? There's no place for the new cells to grow. Which means if I need new cells, I would have to let the old ones go. Or otherwise, it's going to block. Right? Because there are chambers in the heart. And if the new cells coming, they would block the chambers. The exact reason why heart cells don't divide. Now, what I want you guys to do is think of other types of cells we cannot divide because of XYZ reasons. Please comment below your answers so that I can see how many of you have got it actually right. Coming to the stages of the cell cycle. Okay, so there's interphase. This is the longest stage of a cell cycle. The cell grows bigger and increase its mass and carry out normal cell activities. So it's basically the cell trying to understand what it has to do. For example, the skin cell needs to understand how to sweat and how to protect the body from all the dirt to get inside. Most importantly, they replicate their DNA to form two copies of each chromosome ready for the division. This is interphase. Interphase has growth phase, synthesis phase, and then growth phase. So in the first phase of growth, it would learn what to do. Then it would synthesize the DNA, make the new two copies of DNA, so that when the division happens, both the cells have the same amount of DNA. They also increase in the number of subcellular structures, such as mitochondria, ribosomes, chloroplasts, ready for division. It's technically getting ready for two sets of everything. For example, if your mother goes out and you have a sibling, your mother would never get one chocolate. It would get two. She would get two. This is because she needs to have both her babies to have same amount of things. So this cell is actually known as a mother cell, never a father cell. And the ones that it's going to divide itself into are known as daughter cells. Never son cells, only daughter cells. So mother cell and daughter cells. Coming to the second stage of cell cycle, which is mitosis. In this process, one set of chromosomes are pulled from each ending of dividing cells and the nucleus divides. Please look carefully at the stages and remember the name of the stages. Normal cell, DNA. Normal cell, DNA in chromosomes. Normal cell, but I'm going to enlarge the DNA. Okay, I'm just going to draw the DNA now. The nucleus part, actually. Let's not confuse, actually. Let me. The DNA is going to divide itself. So each chromosome would look like this. So I've drawn 4 here. I'm just drawing 2. So let me erase the previous 2. So 2 chromosomes would actually look like this. So it went like, this was the chromosome. Each one of them developed another pair, like this. So this is DNA synthesis. This is interphase. This is also interphase. Now, let's get into mitosis. Cell. Nucleus is dissipating and the chromosomes are seen easily. This is known as prophase. Now, cell. Chromosomes would hang themselves in the middle of the cell from 2 points. Metaphase. It's called as a metaphase because this imaginary line on which both of these are hanging is known as a metaplate. Now, this thread-like structure by which these are hanging are known as spindle fibers. Now coming to the next part. The spindle fibers would pull apart the chromosomes. So one leg comes here, the other comes down. Anaphase. Now, there would be nuclear reappearance. This is telophase. After this, only the cytoplasm has to divide. So we go like having grooves first. The nucleus has been completely formed. So it forms grooves. Then it slowly pushes from here, leading to the formation of 2 separate cells. Okay, these 2 might be smaller, but they're going to be exactly like this. Look at the chromosome structures. This phase where the cytoplasm divides is known as cytokinesis. In this stage, in which the cytoplasm and the cell membrane divides to form 2 identical daughter cells. Okay, this particular stage is known as cytokinesis. It's going to divide the cell into 2 halves. So if you look at the DNA, 2 chromosomes, 2 chromosomes, 2 chromosomes, even this one has 2 chromosomes. So like that, I divided my cells, I have the exact same amount of DNA as well. Now can you guys look at this video and try and understand the things better? The video does not really have a voice, but you're going to get an idea about what kind of cell division this is. Okay. I can explain the steps as you guys see it. So these are the name of this, I would say, cycle. IPMATC. I is for interphase, in which the DNA is going to replicate itself and form 2-legged chromosomes. So if you think about it, I was supposed to have 46 chromosomes, which looked like this. Pair number 1, pair number 2. Now I have 46 chromosomes, but they look like this. This is pair number 1. If I draw pair number 2, it's going to be the same. Which means the amount of DNA has been doubled. So it goes from 46 to having 92 chromosomes. Like you say, 23 pair is equals to 46 chromosomes. So if you try and separate these, pair number 1 actually have 4 chromosomes in itself. So that's how it became 92. Please do not confuse this number with anything else. It's just another way of saying that the DNA has replicated itself. Moving on to P, prophase. You can see centrioles moving to the corners, trying to form spindle fibers. Metaphase. The spindle fibers attach themselves to the chromosome on the metaplate. Once this is done, the cell is ready for DNA division, anaphase. These spindle fibers pull apart the chromosomes, leading to formation of 2 different nucleuses in the next phase, which is telophase. Now the spindle fibers would just disappear, even the centriole would disappear, all the things which is subcellular structures in the cell would keep on, coming and, dividing themselves, getting into the corners. And then we have cytokinesis, where the cell divides itself into 2. This is how we have 2 perfect cells with the same amount of chromosome as the first one. This is what we have as mitosis. I hope you guys understood this. Now moving on to, in exam papers, you might be asked to find the length of a particular stage of cell cycle. For example, we're going to solve a question, but before that you need to know what all do you need to know about the stages. So whatever slide is given in the question, you need to count the number of cells seen on the slide first. Second is, you need to count the total number of cells. The first is that you need to know, for example, it says particular stage. Let's say it is mitosis. How many cells are in mitosis at this particular time? You need to know how many cells are there for mitosis. Number of cells observed, like the entire slide, number of cells in the entire slide. And how many, what is the time for the entire complete cell cycle? Usually a normal cell takes 24 hours to do that, but some takes lesser time, some even takes longer. Now, here's the formula. So the formula says observed cells in mitosis divided by the total cells on the slide times your time, how long the cell cycle is. Let's say the cell cycle is 24 hours. Right? Now number of cells, how would you count the number of cells? Now for that you need to remember one thing, which is that you cannot count the cells which do not have the same nucleus included completely. No, 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 no. So there's 1 cell, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I have 5 cells. So total number of cells in the slide are 5. Now I need to count the observed number of cells. Let's say the particular stage, which is mitosis. This is in mitosis, and so is this one. And then you see chromosomes of this one as well, which is like a thread structure. So that's also in mitosis. But that's like prophase, right? So the beginning of, I would say, mitosis. So this becomes 3 times 24. Whatever this comes as would come as in hours, because this is 24 hours. If it would have been minutes in the question, the answer would come out in minutes. Let's try and solve this question. So we need to estimate the length of mitosis in the cell cycle. The complete cell cycle takes 15 hours. So whatever this ratio is, this one stays 15. Let's count the number of cells on the slide. So I have like 15 cells. So I'm going to write 15 here. Now I need to count the number of cells in mitosis. For those who are wondering why I did count these two as one, it is because there is no cell membrane in the middle of the two. So I'm going to consider that as the same cell. Now coming to the number of cells in mitosis. 1. Cytokinesis, that's the stage. 2. Metaphase. 3. Metaphase. 4. Prophase. 5. Metaphase. And I guess that's it. So I'm going to have 5. That comes out as 5 R's. Because they would cancel out, so only 5 is left. That means 5 R's. Which means whoever this organism is going to take 5 R's to complete their mitosis. Did you guys get the hang of it? Can you guys solve the same kind of questions? You guys can try and solve this question and see if you guys get the answer. Please post the video while solving. Okay. I hope you guys are done. Now I'm going to solve the same question. So the cycle takes 10 hours. So times 10. Total number of cells. 1, the nucleus is in. 2, in, no. 3, no. 4, no, no. 5, 6, no, no. 7, no. 8, no. The nucleus is out. No, no. Which means I have like 7 cells, out of which this 5th is definitely in cell division. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's actually 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have like 8 cells. Out of these 8, 1, 2 are in cell division. So 2. If you solve this, what are you going to get? So like 2.5 R's. Did you guys get the same answer? I hope you guys did. Now, this completes your cell division, in which we learned about how cells have a cell cycle, how it is important for the cell to have the same kind of DNA after their division, what all are the stages of a cell cycle, and what particular stages are involved in the division of the cell, which is mitosis. There's another kind of cell division, which is known as meiosis, but that's something that we're going to talk about in the next sessions, where we're going to talk about the reproduction. So I hope you guys understood this topic, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Till then, bye-bye, take care.